Hey, what's up, guys? Here we are. Hey, let me talk, Jose, real quick. Here we are, another episode of the Daily Grind. My name's Anthony.
I'm at Meehan, and let's get the show on the road.
Yeah, let's start talking about the NFL.
Yeah, so big things this weekend. We have Super Bowl Sunday.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, Tom Brady might be getting his 6th ring. Like, he already has the most at 5.
I'm a Jets fan, man, so you got to realize that I hate the Patriots.
I hate the Patriots, I get it.
But listen, it's pretty undeniable. This guy, he's amazing. He was a second-string quarterback that just became the greatest of all time.
Yeah, Drew Bledsoe got hurt one day. All of a sudden, he's like throwing for like 300 or 400 yards. We're like, what the heck just happened? Who was this guy? And it was like, if you watch some of those football reels, like the old videos, that gives me goosebumps watching it. Because he just comes out and just starts slinging the football.
Listen, granted,
Joe Montana style.
Yeah, he's got a great team. He's got a great coach. He's got, Belichick around him. But what he did in the last Super Bowl was pretty amazing. Coming back like that, I mean, it was really exciting for me to watch, and it kills me to say that.
I don't know whether to call it a little bit of luck or it's just talent. I mean, I feel like when teams get ahead, they just kind of like give up. Kind of like sometimes people in business too. And like, have you ever seen an entrepreneurship where people start making a ton of money and all of a sudden they just like, I got this.
Absolutely.
And all of a sudden they're like broke again. And they're like, what just happened?
Because they stopped learning.
Yeah, and I think it's the same thing with him.
And they stopped training.
Check this out. Robert Kraft, he just basically said like, Tom will quit when Tom wants to quit. So like Robert Kraft publicly came out on Twitter and was like, hey, whenever Tom's ready. Like basically saying Tom's the man.
How old is
Tom's
he?
our franchise, so quarterback. So whenever Tom, 40.
He's 40.
So Kraft like put basically all the power in his hands. And Brady's like, I'm gonna sit here and play for as long as I can.
He's in amazing shape too.
It's nuts. But that's just tipping on the iceberg, NFL. I kind of want the Patriots because everybody talks trash about Brady. Like, oh, he's not that good and all this. And I'm like, dude, the guy's got 5 rings. If he gets his 6th ring, MJ.
Yeah.
Only person that has more rings than MJ who's considered top is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in terms of rings. And if you go into the coaches, now you're talking about Phil Jackson. He's got like 11, 12 with Kobe, Shaq, Jordan. I mean, if we're talking about dynasties and rings, you got to start talking about Tim Duncan. But, that's a totally different topic.
He's definitely up there with Montana. I mean, he's probably the greatest. As much as it kills me to say this, but he's probably the greatest of all time. And, I really do respect his work ethic.
Yeah.
And
for sure, right?
He keeps training, right?
I'm sure Giselle respects his work ethic too, huh?
Yeah, I mean, listen, if I was him, I wouldn't be doing this anymore. What does he have? He has plenty of money. He's home with Giselle. I'd be traveling the world and doing something else, but I mean, this guy loves exactly what he does every single day.
And we talked about that last week about his new fitness and his company.
Yeah, he's also, in different ventures out there that, so when he does decide to retire off the field, even though he has a lot of money and a lot of these guys go broke, he's got he's just a very smart guy.
Yeah.
He set himself up in a lot of the right ways.
For sure. Remember last episode we talked about Bitcoin?
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, there's no way this is going down. You were like thinking maybe like 7,000 was a good buy. Yeah. This was like a week or two ago. Yeah. So what do you think now?
I actually shot a video about that not too long ago. It's on the website if anybody wants to look at it.
Mirror?
Yeah, and this must have been about a month ago, 2 months ago. I think
you put it on there already?
Around 15 or 18, 15, and then ran up to 18,000. I said how I was going to pull back. Here's the scary part: if it breaks 9,000 right now, that's what the support level is.
I've been saying it's going to go down. Yeah. I think it's going to tank.
So what Wall Street does when Wall Street gets involved is they chart things, right? As long as they can chart it, they can tell you where the support level is, and what the support level is saying where buying comes into the stock from institutional investors. Right? People that bought below 9,000 probably already took their profits.
Those institutional investors, you said this on Facebook, there's institutional investors, but there's people seeing it on Facebook like you're about to talk about. What do you think is the result of that? Like, what's the impact on the market?
Listen, like I said, it was a scary thing because the general public are only headline readers. They don't dive deep into what they're doing. They don't do their proper due diligence, right? Yeah. So Facebook, and I applaud... Hence
the election.
Yeah, right.
Well, keep going.
Well, We'll table that for right now. Yeah. But, truth of the matter is, I applaud Facebook for what they did. They just banned all cryptocurrency ads.
You see their profit is up like insane amounts. Most ever they ever recorded last quarter.
Zuckerberg knows exactly what he's doing, man.
I know, man. He's a beast.
I put together a deal to buy that stock before it went public at $25 a share. Look at it now. It's just amazing, and
I remember
they're just getting started.
My father, he goes, oh, that's just a fad. I'm like, no, it's not. And I'm like, that's not a fad. It will be over $100 a share within the next few years. Guess what?
In 1998, 1999, the internet was a fad. Right now, they're saying Bitcoin's a fad, right? Because it's falling.
Totally, dude. Bitcoin sucks.
But
just a joke.
I don't know. I believe in Bitcoin, but you got to look at what's going on. There was just another $500 million stolen from hackers. Look, anytime you have something that appreciates rapidly and it's all computer based, right? You're going to have teams of hackers around the world.
And that's the purpose of government and governance. Mm-hmm. That's the only time government makes sense, is to protect the consumers. Mm-hmm. That's the only time you need government, is when you're protecting consumers. Otherwise, I don't like the government involved in anything with money. But guess what? If the SEC doesn't say, hey, listen, if you don't have these kind of standards when it comes to ISO, international standards, when it comes to like your malware that you put on your computers, you aren't allowed to touch anybody's money from our country. And that's how it should be.
Right.
But that's not how it is.
You know, India just took a big step in that a couple hours ago. India came in and they banned all cryptocurrency and Bitcoin from use in their country.
I can't blame them.
Now you have to understand, Bitcoin and these cryptocurrencies, run off blockchain technology.
Right.
Blockchain technology is good, right? But
in theory, it's great.
Listen, anytime somebody develops something that they think is foolproof and unhackable, there's a hacker out there trying 10 times harder to hack it.
You heard him. You heard him talk about the hacking. Listen, I don't think it's going to work out. I think there's going to be a lot of people hacking. They're not going to get their money back. People are going to lose. Who's paying for it?
So, listen,
who's going to pay for it?
I wish I could tell you that. But here's the other thing. Right now we're talking about, you have teams of people in China, boardrooms of people sitting there and hacking. Look at what North Korea's been doing it, right?
North Korea needs the money bad, though. Yeah. After all the sanctions Trump put on them.
Intel, right? Intel's putting mining systems into their chips right now to mine these Bitcoins and cryptocurrencies out there. It's definitely the wave of the future.
Well, who do you think wanted to buy Intel? China.
Oh, really? They made
just recently. I'm pretty sure it's Intel, but China basically put in this huge offer to buy this semiconductor chip company. I think it was Intel. I'm going to double check it though real quick. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was definitely China.
So yeah, Bitcoin, if it falls below 9,000, it's going to go lower, without a doubt. So be careful if you're investing in Bitcoin out there. As I said, I really like blockchain. Bitcoin's Web 1.0. Right? A lot of stuff changes. Bitcoin may not be Bitcoin in 10 years from now. It's going to adapt and it's going to change and it's going to evolve, right? So is the blockchain, right? So
it was Micron technology.
Micron. Yeah, I know Micron.
Yeah, so you're right when it comes to them trying to hack stuff. Like that's exactly what they're doing.
Well, that's what they do. It's not just them. It's people here in the States, in Russia, right?
Hey, let's steal the technology because we don't have a capitalist society. We have we're like the old.
But that's just cyber theft, right? There was just a trader who traded Bitcoin in the UK. He was robbed in his house at gunpoint and made to transfer over all his Bitcoin to another file.
I don't know, I just might take the bullet if that's me, you know what I mean? What would you do? No.
But think about that. Instead of robbing you for cash, because you only have so much cash on you, somebody can break into your house, put a gun to you, and make you transfer all your money. At least here in the banking system, there's checks and balances in place.
Well,
you're not going to be able to transfer $10 million, $100 million without the bank calling you up, right? Yeah, and seeing if it's real.
On to what you're saying, listen, I'm going to connect this to the Fed chairman, Janet Yellen, who is the federal chair, for the interest rates. She's stepping down this month, and Jerome Powell's taking over. And there were like 3/4 point interest rate hikes. Like just 25% of an actual point. So there was 3 of those last year. So this year they're saying like, dude, like you're almost like adopting a moving train, like going 150 miles an hour, and you're good luck. Like figure it out on your own, Jerome. What do you think? You think they're going to increase their rates? You think they're going to keep
Here's the problem. Here's the problem. The government cannot increase the rates because I think we have something like 18 or 19 trillion dollars in debt right now. All right? Every quarter of a basis point that goes up, that means the government has to pay more money when they're raising money. Because of the government shutdown, just what happened, they kick the can down the road again. Right? They have to come out, and if they raise rates, what do they do? How does the government raise money? They do a bond offering, right? So every quarter of a point costs the government more money.
And they sell it to China.
That right now.
And they sell it to China, and China buys it with that hacked cryptocurrency money.
Listen, truth of the matter is, I think Trump is still going to he's a real estate guy. He loves low interest rates. It's what he built his empire on high interest rates. Because if you remember back in the late '80s, interest rates for a mortgage were around 17 to 20%.
I have a house right now, Maddie, and I'm like just watching it. And I'm like, I agree with you. So naturally, I'm like, this house that I bought for $200, I'm fixing up. That's probably gonna be worth $300. That could be worth $400,000 in the next 5 years, just because inflation right now is ticking up and. if you're going to continue to just pump money by keeping the interest rates low in the real estate market, especially here in a local economy like Orlando, where it really goes up. Orlando's nuts. Orlando since 1997 has gone up double. It's almost like 120% since 1997. So if you bought a home that's worth $200 in 1997, it's worth $400 now. The median sales price has doubled.
I built my house in the middle of 2015, right?
Right.
My house appreciated about 40% so far.
That's nuts.
From what I paid for.
So I'm thinking, I'm just going to keep the house.
Well, yeah. So here's the thing, though, right? With the appreciation, there's a lot of deregulation going on, where it's getting a little bit easier to get mortgages again, and that brings us back to the same crisis that really affected us in 2008. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm saying there's going to be people that are going to take advantage of easier access to capital and lower rates. So when rates do eventually go up, we're going to be, listen, people have a bad short-term memory, right? That we're going to fall into the same aspect that we did last time.
Yeah, I personally agree. I think that the people that have the credit to be able to get the mortgages should be allowed to do it. So if you're like have an 800 credit score, why aren't we not giving that person who over the past 10, 15 years has proven themselves to, the problem was they were bundling like the 500, credit score user with the 800 credit score guy, and they were bundling them up and then selling those loans
to the biggest banks in the world.
Dude, that was the problem.
Morgan Chase.
That was the problem.
Bank of America. Not to mention JP Morgan Chase. Do you see what they're doing right now with Amazon?
Oh, tell me. I saw a brief headline, something about merger, thinking about
Buffett, Diamond, Bezos. Think about this. 3 of the greatest minds in the world. Amazon, Berkshire Hathaway, and JP Morgan. They're going in the healthcare business. They formed an independent healthcare company. They're in the process of doing it right now. It was announced yesterday. Just during their announcement, which was 2 hours long, only 2 hours, 10 of the top healthcare companies in the world, plus the pharmacy companies, lost $30 billion in market value.
Well, I feel like Jeff Bezos is so good at cutting the cost through unreal logistics that can you even imagine that we're all of a sudden get this reduction in pharmaceutical prices, reduction in everything, Well, just imagine you're able to get your prescription drugs. It's delivered faster, it's delivered on time, it's gonna be delivered by somebody maybe that's transported, instead of you having to go to the store. So how's that gonna affect Walgreens? How's it gonna affect all these CVS where they get their...
Listen, it's going to affect everybody.
It's going to be insane.
Listen, Bezos is, we were talking about Tom Brady being the greatest of all time. Bezos, guys, he's the greatest of all time. Let's talk about what he did for a second. Back in 1990 something, Amazon was an online bookstore, man. An online bookstore. They sold books. There's a great meme, if anybody ever seen it. Bezos is all stressed out. He's 40 years old, and it's just a picture, and it just says Amazon written on the wall. That's what they were. Look at where they are. 20 years later. It's probably it's going to be, in my opinion, the greatest company of all time. And here's why. Okay, Bezos plays the long game. He doesn't give a shit what Wall Street thinks. He doesn't play that 90-day earnings release cycle. He's losing money. They're not profitable, but they're growing quarter after quarter. He's adapted himself into almost every technology there is. If you start with Amazon Prime, it's basically a home delivery service. I use them every day to stream. What?
I love Amazon Prime.
Yeah, I don't go shopping anymore.
Yeah.
Even down here, we're lucky because we have the warehouses here. We have Amazon now. I get stuff delivered to me within 5 hours.
Just hearing you talk about it makes me think as an entrepreneur, it's not always what your first idea that's going to be your final destination. It's dude, just getting up off the couch, writing your note down, and starting the plan. Just whatever it is, just start it, write it down, get started on whatever you're doing. Sell the idea if you want. See how your friends think about it. The point is get started. Say you start doing in one direction. That direction is like a tree branch. It goes into different ones, and before you know it, some kind of fruit's landing. You're picking the fruit off of something. The bookstore was never his final destination. Look at where he is now.
No, and I don't think he knew. I don't think he thought it anyway. But you know what? That was his path.
Just got to start.
That was his path to entry, right? Like anything else, any other company. Companies have a lifespan unless you diversify into different products in different areas, right? So you need to evolve. You need to adapt to the market. You need to change. Companies that didn't adapt, didn't evolve, and didn't change, they're dead. Yeah. Blockbuster Video, Toys R Us. Listen, Amazon is innovating and disrupting everything in the technology space. Let's talk about, we have Prime, we have the delivery service. Now we have Alexa, right? Alexa's competing with Google right now for Google Home. There's a big war going on there, right? But I have Alexa in every room in my house. It serves as an intercom system. I order groceries from it. I schedule my calendar during the day from it. It's on my phone, it's everywhere I go. Alexa, order me deodorant. I need it, put it on my list.
That's nuts.
My wife, if I tell you how many Amazon Prime boxes I get in my house every day, at least 4 or 5 from something. So they're hitting there. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you know this or not, but Amazon accounts for 50 cents out of every single dollar that's spent online in the United States.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But I can see it.
That's just Amazon Prime. And that's just Alexa, where they're changing the game in voice and they're changing the game with home delivery, right?
Right.
Now, Amazon marketing is something nobody really talks about, which is really cool.
Right.
The biggest marketing companies in the world, you have Facebook, right? You have Facebook gets a lot of advertising money.
I think one of the best, it's clearly the best internet
100%. You have Google,
marketing company.
Right? When you go to Google, Google knows what you're looking for, right? Facebook knows what you want to see, but Amazon knows what you buy because you're buying it through them. So imagine this, you're on Amazon, right? And you're looking for Coke.
You love this, you love Amazon.
I love Amazon.
No, it's I'm
in love with it, right? So you're looking for Coke, right? Amazon can show you a Pepsi ad for 50% off. Maybe you'll buy Pepsi that day. Why? Because they know what you're buying, because they've been collecting all this big data, right? From everybody. So it's not a matter of what you like, because you may not buy it, right? It's not a matter of what you're thinking about buying. Amazon knows what they're doing, and they're just scaling out their advertising division right now.
Yeah, they're for me, I just think it's like such an amazing logistic company. Like they figured out logistics better than everybody else.
They have a warehouse within 20 miles of 90% of the U.S. population.
And I think
something crazy.
They're going to take over. I think UPS. I think all these major shipping companies, produce companies that are shipping produce. I think they're probably going to be obsolete in the next.
Absolutely.
5-10
Listen,
years. 10 years.
These largest companies in the world right now, they're scared of Amazon, man.
You heard me say it. I said in 10 years, UPS, FedEx, I think these companies might be out of business.
Listen, let's think about this. They're going into healthcare for a second, right? They just bought Whole Foods. What's the next step, the next logical step? They're gonna put a pharmacy in Whole Foods. Walmart's done. Walmart and Google are now talking about a partnership just to compete with Amazon. Because Amazon's not just a retail giant, they're a delivery method.
There's like a couple hundred Sam's Club stores closed.
Yeah.
Across the country. And they were trying to blame if the tax cut was so good for the economy. Like, listen, has nothing to do with Trump, has nothing to do with Hillary, has nothing to do with Obama. Sears, Toys R Us, Sam's Club, they're starting to fail because Amazon's winning.
Well, Amazon's winning because they keep adapting and changing. And if they were still selling books online, let's face it, they'd be out of business right now. But they've entered in, and you know what? Jeff Bezos was not scared to take flack from Wall Street, which he did for years. He took the money that they were making and he reinvested it in himself and his business, just like any entrepreneur should do.
They have to. Listen, when I first started Winter Park Events, my event company, I mentioned to you before, I was spending probably $1,500 to $2,500 on Facebook. This is back in 2012, 13, right? This is 6 years ago. So Facebook advertising started to go up, but it wasn't that wasn't their dominant model for revenue and profit. They weren't crushing it in profit. They just went IPO in 2009. So 2012, I was in full-fledged, just let's dump a couple $1,000 into this because it'll help me grow my business. I couldn't agree with you more. You have to grow it. Well, especially against the mirror. We're gonna have to do the same thing with that.
100%.
The daily grind, if people wanna see that, not only do we need to have, obviously, people out there seeing it, friends who have come through, but we need to probably promote it.
No, absolutely. You have to promote everything, and you need exposure, right? And you cannot stop dumping money into advertising. As a matter of fact, the way Amazon got so big is they were the #1 spender on Google's platform. Now they're about to take over Google. So Google's talking about doing a joint venture with Walmart so they can get into retail, right? And they're in the home. But Amazon they're already in your home. They already have the delivery platform. They have the retail platform. Now, after all said and done, they're going into brick and mortar.
Yeah, I feel like brick and mortar is just a thing of the past. I feel like drone technology, the ability to on a micro level, to transport things, groceries and stuff, I think that is going to be the future. I have this crazy feeling that instead of Amazon paying somebody to drive the car, kind of like Uber technology, to drive all these goods around. I feel like it's going to turn into drone technology, and I think drone technology is going to be managed at a micro level. So if you can imagine drones coming, it sounds crazy, but it's more economical to have a drone take the groceries and then fly it to your house.
They've already started pilot programs about that already. But now if Bezos can come in and cut healthcare costs, which is something this country needs, right? It's game over.
Yeah.
It is game over.
Because they're going to just crush everybody.
Yeah.
With the cost.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to slash prices.
If you guys see, Target's a little scared right now too. Target just bought something down here. It's not in New York. It's called Shipt, right? Shipt delivers groceries because it's cheaper for them to buy them out. Already have a distribution platform in place, right? Then start it up and build their own.
Yeah,
so Target's afraid of Amazon. Every big major company in this world, including Apple, is scared of one company.
You know what?
Amazon. The only problem with Amazon is going to be if the government comes in and breaks them up because they're too large. But I think Bezos is too smart, and I think he'll break himself up before that.
What is it called? I forget. In the stock market exchange, they have to pass a certain test. I forget, was it Briggs test? I can't remember the name of it. But basically, they take the two stocks that are trying to merge, and they figure out, okay, is this merger going to affect consumers in a bad way? The SEC, I forget what the name of it is. It's like some kind of like strength test when it comes to like the two. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I've not. I was on Wall Street for 15 years. I'm sure there's a name for it.
A lot of companies aren't allowed to actually merge together because of it. Yeah. Let me look it up real quick. But or actually, we'll talk about it later.
So
but you know, check this out. Like Amazon in general, I feel like they invest back into themselves, right? So we're always, in the past, a lot of these companies have high-paid executives, you know, and it's kind of like they're just like stupid companies.
Yeah.
They just pay these executives that are dumb, and
because
it's like blind leading the blind.
Because they're not founders. Founders are different than executives. There are some good CEOs out there, but even if you're
Bezos is that guy just pumps it back into the building.
Because it's not about the money. If you don't find the company, it's not your baby, right? You're just there for a paycheck, man. You want to grow the company, great, but you know you gotta answer to Wall Street, you gotta answer to investors, and you gotta hit your numbers.
Yeah.
So instead of reinvesting, they'd rather show a profit on their balance sheet.
Yeah, to Jeff Bezos, it's not about the money. It's all about winning the game, which is completely different.
You know, and him himself, he's invested in so many things. He's very big into health, so it doesn't surprise me he's getting into healthcare.
They have money going into their pilot program for transportation, the shuttles. They have, I think it's in Arizona. It might be in Texas, but I think it's in Arizona, somewhere in the desert. They're already planning on figuring out with Elon Musk the same idea. How do we transport people in these little shuttle bubbles? Frictionless bubbles, like 3 to 5 person passenger cars that travel like a couple hundred.
Are you talking about a Hyperloop?
Yes.
The Hyperloop?
Bezos has his own. He's already invested in that as well.
Yeah. So I mean, listen.
I heard about it from a speech from what's his name, the guy that used to own Virgin Atlantic.
Richard Branson.
Yeah. So he was actually talking about it, and Richard Branson actually is doing something completely different in terms of trying to get to space than Elon Musk. Elon Musk is using rockets. What do you think Richard Branson's doing? He's taking them up as high as they can go.
They're using the Earth's gravitational pull to pull them back down.
Basically, how do we get out of the atmosphere at this level, which is less energy?
Because I don't know how many times the Earth is actually spinning. Right, but the way the Earth spins, you can go up, come back down, and land somewhere else.
It's definitely out of my ballpark.
Yeah, it's definitely above my pay grade. You know, I mean, if anybody's going to do it, it's Amazon. I mean, even if you see down here, right, there's hospitals, right? I don't have a primary physician. I probably do on record for my insurance company, right? But I tend to go to these walk-in, I don't want to call them clinics. What are they called? Walk-in. What are they called? They're not clinics.
I don't know. I go to the VA.
It's not a free clinic.
Dude, I haven't been to the VA in almost 2 years.
Yeah.
So
I mean, think about that for a second.
I haven't gotten any medicine or anything.
My deductible on my insurance, and we pay $400 a month under my wife's company, and she works for an insurance company, right? It's still $6,000
a year.
A year. So the first $6,000 is out of my pocket, plus another $400 a month that we're paying. It's a lot of money. And I mean, granted, we bring our kids to there, but yes, last year we just hit our deductible because our kids go constantly.
Well, check this out. I'm gonna go on a limb here, but I think Amazon's gonna solve some of that problem.
Yeah, I think so. I think what the game plan is they're gonna scoop up some real estate, and then not Amazon hospitals, but Amazon clinics.
Where do you think
where they can control the pharmacies?
Where do you think they're gonna put up the HQ, their headquarters?
For that,
They've been talking about everything. Like
the second headquarters that they're looking for right now.
Yeah.
I know a lot of cities have a lot of bids in for that.
They were like Tampa and the Orlando Sentinel was talking about, oh, maybe it's Tampa, and like everybody's like saying maybe it's this, and like it's just a headliner for people to get attention.
Well, listen, they're building a hyperloop. I don't know if they've chosen a city for that yet, but that's supposed to be Orlando, because that will make the commute from Miami to Orlando 35 minutes.
It should be that easy.
Can you imagine?
Here's the
Can
thing.
you imagine property
Why
values
create a
increasing
hyperloop
that?
though? So you got like imagine a hyperloop. Remember these? Imagine all these bubbles, right? So you have these passenger cars going. Well, guess what? Just as fast as they go, just as for that little pod to go from like 0 to 400 miles an hour, it takes a certain amount of time, right? So if you have like 500 of these little things that are only carrying 3 to 5 people, it makes no sense. You need to carry like 10 to 15, 20 people. Like, think about what the future population is going to have. Like, we're going to have like not millions here in Florida, but maybe a billion in like 20, 30 years.
Well, Florida has what, 6,000 people per day move to Florida?
So like, why would,
insane.
I think the pod thing makes sense, but only if you're like having like 15 to 20 people per passenger car. Otherwise, it makes no sense.
Listen, this area, there's still a lot of land left. That's really good.
Have you ever learned about queuing theory? Queuing theory?
No.
Okay. Basically, it's like queuing theory is like, okay, we have 500 cars on the highway, right? If 5 cars slow down 5 miles an hour, how does it affect these other little cars? Queuing theory applies to pod transportation, just in a different way. So it's like, say one pod slows down a little, or say, how do you get all these pods going at the same time at a same rate where everybody's arriving 35 minutes? Because it makes no sense. If you're gonna sit in that pod and wait 25 minutes before you can even take off, then you might as well just get in your car and drive or take a private plane.
Not to Miami. I mean, if I'm waiting 25 minutes to get in the pod.
Who's really using pod technology and traveling? It's going to be expensive.
Well, no, it's not. It's supposed to be like $25 to $40 a ticket.
Yeah, but who's paying for that?
Listen, that's yet to be seen.
Yeah,
but
it's probably going to be federal, the government or local government.
Look, if Bezos and Elon Musk have their way, this will get done. I mean, their hands are in everything. Those guys are just insane.
Well, maybe with the tax cut, they will.
Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, and Reid Hoffman. Peter Thiel, you know who he is, right? Big venture capital guy. Out of Silicon Valley, and Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn.
Right.
They're called the PayPal Mafia. They were all the founders of PayPal. Right?
Right.
So again, same thing, like investing in your business is the theme. They made billions selling off PayPal, right? They left PayPal. They could have sat down, they could have relaxed, they didn't have to work for the rest of their life. But what did they do? They went and founded 3 different companies.
It's all about the game.
Look at LinkedIn. Look at Elon Musk and everything he's doing with Tesla right now. He's changing the way the world works, not to mention SpaceX.
Yeah.
You know, Peter Thiel was the first seed investor in Facebook. He gave Zuckerberg $500,000.
All I can say is that pod technology is like at the very tip of the iceberg. It needs to be vetted. Like, pod technology has to be vetted, and it's not going to make sense at first. And I don't think they're going to get it right at first. I think they're going to fall flat on their face with pod technology, because I think there's a lot of these entrepreneurs that don't understand ideas, like mathematical ideas, like queuing theory, and it's just uneconomical until they can figure out how to get tons of passengers into one pod. And I think it will get there. I just think the first.
Well, listen, that's like anything else.
Yeah.
When the Wright brothers first started out, the plane, it was a 1-seater, right?
Well, look at you.
Listen, once the technology is there in place to get it done, right? Then you have people that take that technology, adapt, expand, and grow upon it. The same theme with this whole talk that we're having. Let's think about this for a second. Tom Brady is always learning more. He's always adapting. He's always expanding.
And he's always
Bezos is doing the same thing. He's always learning. He's always adapting. He's always expanding.
Right.
You know, any piece of technology that comes along has to be expanded on, adapted to.
I think it has to be part government
and change.
When has it not been part government for federal highways? Well, why wouldn't our federal government invest in our infrastructure?
I mean,
that is the next step in our future, to speed everything up and to make it life better for everyone.
Our infrastructure here really does need to be rehauled.
What's the purpose of a federal government? That's their job, is to make sure that our lives are improved, right? So here we have this huge problem. Like, back in the 1940s is the last time we had a 20% tax rate, right? Mm-hmm. This is literally pre-World War. World War II is the last time we had these tax, and like, so like a lot of these economists and people in business are like, well, this whole tax cut isn't going to work because companies aren't going to well, listen, how do you know? The last time we had a tax...
What do you mean companies aren't going to reinvest?
No, that's what they say.
I was just with a Disney employee who got a $1,000 check for nothing because of the tax cut. You know what they're going to do? They're going to take that $1,000 and they're going to go spend it in the economy, which is going to help small businesses, not just large corporations.
Here's the thing. The average person who like gets another $1,000 or $2 in their checkbook, guess what they're going to do? They're going to buy it on Snickers, Kit Kats, and Pepsi. Like nobody needs that. We don't care about those companies.
They're not going to save
That's
money.
not the future of our
their money.
But exactly, they're not going to put it back into the economy. So really, what's best for the economy? Opposition researchers say that these companies that get these tax cuts, they're not going to reinvest back into technology. And my counter argument to them is, guess what? It doesn't matter whether they reinvest or anyways, because there will be somebody that will, and that company that does reinvest will become the new IBM. They will become the big, IBM will become the, like say for instance, one of these big companies will become the elephant, they'll lose, and another company will sprout up and they will make it because they will take that 20%, whatever reduction in taxes that they're gonna pay or save, they're gonna reinvest it back into technology. And that will be the difference between winning and failing.
The companies that succeed are always reinvesting back into themselves, number one.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Think about the last 15 years, some companies didn't even exist that we use on an everyday basis today.
Facebook.
And the same thing, and you know what? Those same naysayers back in 98, 99, after the dot-com, in 2000 when the dot-coms crashed, right? They said, yeah, this internet fad's over, right?
Yeah, right.
And you know what? It slowed down for a little bit. Investment slowed down, but there were still people out there in the lab working on things. Then Web 2.0 came about. Web 2.0 changed the game and brought pieces of technology that we use on an everyday basis into fruition.
And I think that's really where
and that's where we're at right now.
Apple's sprouted out.
Yeah.
Apple came to where they are because of not only cell phone technology, but because
since
their computer technology changed in a major way.
Steve Jobs died, they're not innovating anything. They haven't innovated anything again. But this is my point. Bitcoin is Web 1.0.
Hey, you have a retina scan. Come on. You scan retina. I can scan your eye. I'm only kidding.
In 10 years from now, it's not going to be Bitcoin. It's going to be something else, right? But the mistakes that were made with all the hacking going on, all these ICOs, right? Government's going to come in. They're going to regulate it in some way, shape, or form, right? They're probably going to tighten it up. And just like every time regulation comes in, everything tightens up at first, then loosens up, and then innovation changes the game. And that's where a lot of money is made.
You know, I feel like if I'm a guy in another country and I realize that Bitcoin's going down, I'm gonna want to actually use that Bitcoin currency to buy real estate in a powerful economy like the US, England, France, somewhere where they have a very powerful economy. Because guess what? Maybe even Finland, one of those Norway. Because here's what happens: when you buy that asset in that country, if they could do it through Bitcoin technology and be, what is it, Ethereum, Litecoin, I don't care what coin you use. If they can use blockchain technology to buy real estate assets, real estate isn't like blockchain technology. Real estate will always be there. So if they buy something right now, I think that's what people should be doing. If they're in Bitcoin, they should be hedging all their money, and if they can buy into real estate or some kind of fixed asset that's going to give them in Orlando, it's 4% a year growth, just sitting there, dirt. But I think that's, if I was that person that owned all that stock and I saw it starting to tank, I would try to buy some fixed asset or cash out.
Well, it's usually a defensive strategy, right? Listen, the people that win in the long term don't care about the short term. Just with Bitcoin, investors in Bitcoin, investors in real estate, investors in their own business. You gotta have some small wins. But you can't rely on that money if you have a 10-year outlook. That's what you're gonna use the money.
Bro. I'm with the Wolf of Wall Street on this one. He even said, he goes, all these people are getting ripped off. He's like, this is over.
Yeah.
So I think it's gonna tank. I don't think it's gonna work, and I think the U.S. is next in line with this year to cancel the whole thing. Like Bitcoin's done.
Listen,
but here's the thing: all these like hedge fund managers, they got all this money from people, and so here's what. I bet you all the politicians are like, hey, listen, you might want to dump these portfolios and get rid of them and stop doing this, or else we're going to come in and you're going to lose all this money. So I think they kind of trigger them and let them know already.
The run up at the end of December, I said this last time, was window dressing from hedge fund portfolio managers that have been outperforming, underperforming the market, right? And the price shot up because they came in with a lot of volume. Right, and as I said, it's going to come back down drastically. It's still going to come down. At the end of the day, let's leave off like this. Bitcoin may not be Bitcoin in 10 years, but there will be something along that point, along those lines.
Amazon's
right?
going to crush it in the healthcare
Amazon's
industry.
going to crush it. Blockchain will adapt, and invest in your business, because that's how big businesses are made.
And lastly, Tom Brady's going to win his 6th ring.
We'll see about that.
All right.